Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, my name is Amy Elliott. I am the Director of Opening Minds Through Art, and I am so excited for our webinar today from our Associate Director, Krysta Peterson, detailing her experience going to Okinawa, Japan, with her amazing team that she went with, two of the members, Amber and Paige. In case you haven't heard of OMA, Opening Minds Through Art, it was founded in 2007 by our founder, Lika Lokan, for individuals living with dementia to create through art making, connection, choice, autonomy, relationship, all the things that we all want. And it was built as an intergenerational program. We've grown throughout the years, and now we have over 1,400 trained facilitators all around the globe. But Krista's trip to Japan, we believe, there's probably been some OMA in Japan, but one of the first times that it's been done. And so I believe that they're going to talk about that experience, but also about their own experiences and how it really, I think, embodies all that OMA is, self-discovery, creativity, connection, relationship building. So we're all excited to hear about it. If you have any additional questions, want to learn more about Opening Minds Through Art, our training, we're going to pop our website in the chat. But for now, I'm excited to start off this webinar with Amber. Amber, do you want to introduce yourself and start us off?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I think the first thing we're going to do today is just talk about why we went to Okinawa, the significance of that, and then also I'm going to let you know kind of what our itinerary was while we were there. Just enough context to understand what we were doing, but I don't want to go into too much detail because I think you'll learn a lot from us as we start chit-chatting throughout the webinar. So the reason we decided to go to Okinawa is because it is one of the 5 blue zones in the world. And blue zones are known for having unusually high numbers of centenarians. They all have kind of some core foundational lifestyle principles that qualify for them for that. But Okinawa is kind of special in that they truly revere their elders, and there's a lot of focus on purpose and belonging. So Paige, myself, Stacy, Krysta, and James were all in the aging services industry, I guess. We all have different roles and parts that we play, but we all had this shared curiosity around longevity. So we decided to travel there together. And as far as what we did while we were there, the first thing we did was we ate at Emi no Mise, which is a little restaurant in Ogimi Village. And they really started, I believe, in 1990. Ladies, correct me if I'm wrong, but they started basically because historically their foods, vegetables were never purchased; they were always grown, and they really wanted to share how special that is to have such raw and real ingredients be their meals and use their traditional recipes. So we ate there. We did a homestay with 2 locals in Higashi Village, and half of our group stayed with one host and half stayed with another. But they lived very close to each other and were good friends, so we were together often. They gave us a tour of their village. We made dinner together, and we visited a local, I don't know if it was assisted living or long-term care, but it was wonderful. We did an Ikigai workshop, and Ikigai, I encourage you to look into. There's kind of some different thoughts around that. Some simply say purpose, some say a reason for being, but it was really informational for us to go and do that. And we interviewed Dr. Suzuki. Dr. Suzuki is a renowned cardiologist who's studied Okinawan centenarians for around 50 years. And it's the world's longest running study of 100-year-olds in the world. And last but not least, we visited Village Sanaha, which is an assisted living community with a beautiful view of the ocean for all of their residents to see. And they have a really great mission and purpose within their work. And while we were there, Krysta led us in an OMA project. So outside of all of that, we visited local restaurants and shops and festivals and really got to soak up the culture. So, Paige and Krysta, now that we're back and we're settled in, what has been top of mind for the two of you regarding our time in Okinawa?
Thanks, Amber. Thanks for setting the stage. I'll jump in and share first, I guess. I have kind of like it was actually a journal entry that I had made to answer the question a little bit more succinctly, but I'm going to kind of end with that, I think. And I was telling the girls prior to starting, Okinawa was very emotional for me. I think all of us, but I physically showed it a lot. So I'm prepping myself to get through this journal post at the end to spare you my tears. But kind of my four major takeaways through the trip as we've been home and we're reflecting a lot. The pillars were the value of art, applied curiosity, collective growth, and intentionality. So just to kind of highlight those through, there's some photos here on my screen, but to start with the value of art, I knew going into it when I first met Amber and Paige and even James, I talked about wanting to do some form of art project while in Okinawa. So I knew right away that I wanted to string art into the whole experience. What I didn't realize was how impactful that was going to be for me. Art has always played a huge role for me, but to see it play out throughout the week, it really was that through line of the trip for me and just reminded me of its presence and the value that it plays in my personal and professional life and just in the world around us. I think being an artist is a really beautiful thing, and I feel very privileged that I have that in my life. For the kind of the tangible art that we did, as already mentioned, we hosted an OMA session at Village Sanaha with about, I think there was close to 30 residents in the room with us, older adults. We had, I think, 5 students, international students from a local university, and then family and staff members. I love hearing Amber, Paige, and the other group members talk about the experience because to me, it was all I needed it to be. It was a beautiful, chaotic OMA session, but it was kind of expected. I definitely loved crying, but it was kind of the I don't know, the tip of the experience, the ending for me of like, this is the thing that we did. But I also created OMA art cards. So I handed out over 200. Reminder, we were only there a week. I printed about 250. And those made for really beautiful moments of connection to be able to give those to total strangers. And again, through the reflection after the fact, I think it was really that moment of connection that I was able to give them, like a reciprocal. So many people in Japan were helping us or in Okinawa because of language, or they were physically serving us meals. And at the end of all these little moments, I could give them almost a gift. And so that became a really valuable part throughout the whole week that, I printed them and I thought, well, maybe I give them out, maybe I don't. And it became, I can't get these out of my bag fast enough. I can't wait to give it to the next person. So I loved that. Applied curiosity. So I believe without a doubt that we have to be curious. We have to continue to want to learn and change from the experiences around us. Without that, we can't be better people. We can't do better work. And so growth comes from that practice of curiosity and understanding. But I'm also in a master's program with Project Dragonfly, and I did an independent study for this around this trip through this experience. And I wrote a paper, and so it was really cool to go do something that felt really personal and professional, but then also tie in the applied side of things. So I wrote a really long paper, for me at least, like 22 pages. And then I was able to intertwine the value of OMA and art and the experience in Japan into that. So that was very valuable. And then collective growth, I think that more of just the experience with these beautiful people here today with me, but then these little moments. So like there's a photo of the bottom left corner, a gentleman in a bright orange shirt. That was the weekend we were there, just for travel. And the small world moments. So he had left Japan once. I'm not sure I know the exact story, but basically had really only ever left Japan once and ended up in Nebraska, which is where Amber and her husband live. And so, like, the fact that we found an Okinawan who had only ever been to the United States to the state of one of us, it just kind of reminded me of the community aspect of the world and the people around us. The second photo is our homestay host touching my arm while she was giving us a garden tour. And I snapped that photo because I was so excited that she touched my arm. It was just this little moment where I was like, I'm not just this stranger in her house. She sees me. She wants to touch me. She felt connected in that moment. She didn't speak a lick of English. I didn't know any Japanese. But the fact, like I get touch is so valuable that she took that moment to touch me. It meant a lot. And then it's hard to see in the background of the third photo back there, but that's Paige and then our host, I'll call him our host dad, getting ready for breakfast maybe. So again, just those tiny moments of humanity that were strung in, they're not the most amazing photos, but there were these really special moments where we got to collectively get to know people different than us, even as small groups, like having those individual moments with all of us together. I said, I think we built 4 years of relationships in a week, because we felt so bonded and we had gone through so many amazing things together. And then finally, intentionality. I think that was a really big growth space for me. I kept saying, Paige and James specifically, like, you guys are so intentional. The words you say, the way you carry yourself. And I felt like, I think a lot of my emotions came from thinking that I wasn't intentional. And I saw it woven throughout the week with people and Oma specifically and art. And I thought, wow, I am not an intentional person. But my reflection, and I'm not going to be able to get through this journal post, I can already feel it welling up inside of me, but my reflection is, no, I am very intentional. And this was just kind of that moment in a string of time where it was, trying to figure out who I am, who I'm becoming, and who I want to be. And Japan was kind of like the beginning of all of that. Like, I don't know, it's interesting to be at 35, 36 years old. I feel like this trip was front and center to the next half of my life. So I'm going to move on. Thanks. Paige, I'll pass it to you.
Golly,
Or Amber,
that's
I'm sorry.
beautiful. Oh, am I going next? Um, I'll go next. The
Okay.
For my slide, it was fun to go back and decide what pictures to use for our slides. And then I have about 500 extraordinary photos that are these beautiful, picturesque Japanese photos that you would see. But I keep coming back to this. I think it's my favorite photo that I took of the trip. And the reason it's my favorite photo is that it's pretty darn ordinary. It's pretty darn ordinary. It's a forgotten section of a restaurant that's not being, this part isn't being used right now. The lights aren't on. And I think when at least I like it's a 20-hour flight to Okinawa and you hope to find some secrets or special foods or ancient practices. What's that thing that we're missing? And then I was in Japan and had a little bit of this friction where I thought, gosh, I'm not learning anything new. There's not anything big and special. And it didn't mean it wasn't impactful, but felt like it was hitting me differently than the rest of the group. And I think just a little bit quieter. And I think the thing that has stuck with me the longest after that was, geez, Okinawans eat some processed foods and they have some hard days and they experience loss and struggle. Um, but they show up intentionally. So it's funny that you use that word so much, Krysta. They show up intentionally and they live ordinary lives intentionally. They're not looking at aging as something to fight off. They recognize that hardship builds resilience, not defeat. Movement is woven into their everyday life. They eat mostly real foods, right? But it's mostly just it's those daily rituals that are sustainable to them that keep them present. It's not, there's not a special program or activity that is better than others, but if someone needs you on a Tuesday afternoon, they're there. And I think we use the word celebration a lot because one of the researchers really translated the word choju for us as long celebration, and I think a couple of us just like held on deeply to that. And I've really molded over a lot, and I think the thing that out of everything I come out of, it's gosh, to live an ordinary life intentionally, that's a heck of a celebration, right? And that looks so different to everybody, but there's this whole industry around optimization, right? The right diet, the right exercise program, the right activities on the calendar. But longevity really isn't about those things. It's about choosing every day, day in and day out, to show up 100% fully in an imperfect, ordinary life. And that takeaway is like, gosh, stop fighting aging and start celebrating it. Like build rituals for you that present, that present your best self, and that aren't protocols that are practicing this immortality, but instead that give you that whole human experience, so that you are living that long celebration and not just living long. Um, so that's been the pillar I think that has stuck with me the most. And so for me personally, I um, have these tiny things throughout the day that I'm doing far more intentionally than I was doing. I'm not sure I'm changing a lot. I'm still eating mostly vegetables and I'm still, being pretty active, but it's the birds are out right now. Gosh, I love it when the birds are out. Every time the birds are out, it makes me be present, right? That's one of 1,000 things per day. And if I can weave those in, and continue really intentional community, whatever that looks like for me and fills my cup, I have a feeling I'm doing it pretty right. So um, that's the thing I've taken away and continue to hold on to from Okinawa.
As each of you talk, I just like want to comment and feed off of you and just keep the conversation going because you both just inspire me so much when you start reflecting on our time. But something that just dawned on me, Paige, is that I think or both of you know that that translation to celebration of life, longevity, celebration of life, really stuck with me. But it just dawned on me as you were saying it that maybe celebration is gratitude. Maybe maybe it's not that we're having a party every day because we're alive, but we're just so grateful. And we show that gratitude for even the smallest of things. So that just crossed my mind as you were talking. But a few of the things that really hit me during our time. The first picture on the left there is the homestay host that I stayed with, Tommy. One of the things she kept saying was happiness is at your feet. It's at your feet. Fill your pockets. And aside from just being adorably said and the way that she would try to motion to us to get the happiness at our feet and fill our pockets, it was just such a reminder as I looked around the village and the homes that we were in, how simple and ordinary everything was. There was nothing overly fancy or worth much, but the just pure joy to be alive and be with community and share about their culture was just so evident. And I try really hard to have gratitude be at top of mind every day. But I just think it was a reminder that no matter the circumstances, there's still always something to be grateful for. And I don't remember who mentioned it, Krysta or Paige, but even in hardship, I mean, we went, Americans knowing history of war and things like that. And even as they talked about those things, there was such gratitude for the things that came of it. And that was really beautiful to me. Another is Dr. Suzuki. He is 92 and He's just the epitome, I think, of living fully and vibrantly, and living your ikigai. He's still practicing cardiology and talking about ikigai to all of his patients. He's still studying English. He's still learning how to play the sanshin, which is the Okinawan instrument. You can see him playing in that middle photo. I know he was actually recently in the States, I think in January. And he's going to local festivals. And I just think it's so beautiful that, I think here in America, there's kind of this standard of retiring and life kind of slows down. And there, that's not the case. I mean, you are still just in the community and learning and growing and being active forever, for as long as you can. So, and then the third big takeaway that I just constantly am thinking about came at Village Sanaha when Krysta was leading us all through the OMA project. I actually work in life enrichment in a senior living community. And so we do art projects and things of that nature all of the time. And it can just be organized chaos. And so when we went into this, knowing there were, 30 residents, there were 15 staff members, 15 family members, international students that brought in other language barriers. Um, I just thought, how in the world is this even going to work? I was so nervous about just all of the barriers we had facing us. Um, and I literally, it gives me goosebumps still that that was one of the most successful projects I think I've ever seen done. And we didn't even share language. I mean, the connections were so evident. And it was all about just being and having something to work on together, even though you couldn't use actual words. It was just connection, and it was so evident and so beautiful. And I used this picture specifically, the last photo on the right, because I ended up going back and helping this gentleman several times, and he did not speak English, but there was one word. He just kept pointing to me and saying, beautiful, beautiful. And it just made my heart so happy. Krista, talk about crying. It made my heart so happy because it was one word that he knew and he so badly wanted to tell me. He told me over and over, and it was just such a beautiful connection. So those are all kind of the big takeaways for me, as far as what stays on mind. So, Krista, do we have a next slide, or are we done with those? Oh,
So sorry. So we don't
there
have
she
the
is.
next slide, but I think what we were hoping to do is just kind of talk through the case for continuous discovery is kind of what
Mm.
we landed on the other day, and how this trip is helping us move us forward. I think
Yeah.
one thing we all kind of have been in taking up brain space is, we did this beautiful thing, but like what's next? Like taking these learnings and what are we passing on to the broader community based on our experiences? So, is there
Yeah.
anything that any of us touched that someone wants to kind of dive into first, or?
Sure. I mean, yes, and there's the case of continuous discovery, which I want to go down that rabbit hole, but both of you touched on the OMA project, and gosh, what an awesome day that was. Can we talk about that for a second? Because there was this moment where I was just standing in a room and there was chaos, but in a really efficient manner. And I'm standing there and I'm removed from a lot of daily programs in my role right now, and I'm looking around and
Mm.
everyone's doing their thing like so professional. Like you guys are doing your thing and having connections, and there's smiles and tears and there's glitter on the floor. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I am surrounded by these amazing people. Like, this is the coolest thing I've ever done. And I think, I've shared to you guys privately, like, I've never said like, hi, I'm Paige and I'm good at art. That's not something that comes like I'm not like, oh, I'm very creative. And because of that, I tend to like go the other direction. And how enlightening it has been to go, geez, just like Amber said, I spoke to so many people or I connected with so many people without using a single word in the same language because of that art that day. We touched hands and we touched the same fabric and we shared smiles and some inquisitive looks about colors and like all these things. And I left and thought, oh my gosh, you just had the best conversations ever. And I didn't say a single word to someone. And I think that
Mhm.
deserves a little bit of space. I mean, and in some ways it goes right into the continuous discovery, right? Like being willing to just see
Mhm.
each other for all that we might be, not all that we are now, and see other people and other cultures and communities. Um, it's really incredible, right? Like it sure it's opened my mind about like what we can do with art, but like gosh, I just like saw these incredible souls and all that they're able to
Mhm.
do and how might I be better by like putting my shoulder next to theirs, right?
Yeah. I love that. I think Paige, I don't know that I've ever actually verbalized this to either of you, but um, going to Okinawa is probably one of the most um, uncomfortable things I've ever done, right? I'm from little old Wahoo, Nebraska, a very small rural community. I have left the country, but not in this type of scenario. And I've promised myself I want to stay curious. I think that I lead my teams better and I serve my residents better and can make a better impact in the industry if I'm learning and growing and continuously evolving. And so putting myself in this situation was definitely one of the most, boundary pushing things that I've done. And it has been, the most impactful thing that I've done too. Not only learning from each of you, but just observing other cultures and what makes them work so great and what maybe I or we've lost sight of sometimes. Yeah, and I think I constantly go back to that almost session because it's the perfect example. I think it's the thing I tell people about first usually is that because I still just cannot get over the depth of connection. And I work with individuals with living with dementia, often in my work. And so it kind of was really relatable to that. A lot of individuals with dementia don't have the words to speak and communicate what they need to. But it's so much more than that. It's about the physical touch and the expression on your face and the hand over hand guidance. So it's beautiful.
Well, thanks for the OMA commercial, guys. Like that was perfect. Yeah, it's really interesting to sit here as obviously the person who brought OMA. Like, I don't know, I'm really struggling. Like, part of me is like, duh, wasn't I telling you guys this? But
I
like
know.
to go through the experience, like even the drive there, like I packed enough art for up to 50 artists to create. Like I had
Mhm.
half my suitcase was just art supplies. So tying in, like, I am intentional. I did that. I prepped that. But also, like, to be there, like, everyone in the car was kind of like, okay, what do you need us to do? And I think what was really beautiful about that was I was like, you guys have this. Like, you might not know OMA specifically, but there was no doubt in my mind that after these 4 days that we had all just spent together, that you
Mhm.
weren't going to know what to do in this situation. I didn't,
Mhm.
like I remember feeling like, what, I'm giving them a crash course right now. Like, this is silly. Like, once they see it, they'll feel it, they'll know it, and then just the reality of that actually happening, and um yeah, walking away, and just like the emotional roller coaster that the session was, but like to the pride and joy that came out of that. And I think the not knowing Japanese is like, I know Oma's very powerful, but a totally different language. And to walk away, we had 30 pieces of beautiful art. We had moments of connection, these cute, beautiful photos of all of us one-on-one at some point. And I think it was that reminder of humanity in the session.
Mm,
Uh, like those, like Paige, you were saying, like it just to touch someone's shoulder or to sit there and give someone that dedicated 2 minutes, 5 minutes of I'm here for you. I'm going to get you through this and we're going to do it together. Like, I think that's what really stuck out to me.
I just remembered of all this time, Krista saying, like, I really struggled with not knowing if I was intentional. Um, we get to Okinawa and I'm like just doing well to get off the plane. I'm like trying to hold on to my passport and it's 1 in the morning and my car keys are somewhere and I hope I don't leave them in Japan. And Krista's like, "Hi, I brought you all journals and I wrote a first entry to you
oh,
all. I thought
mhm,
ahead and like I did this and now you have them throughout the
mhm.
week. Here you go." And I remember thinking like, gosh, this woman, like this woman
Yeah,
she's so intentional. So like can we say that out loud in front of other people because
yeah,
it was incredible.
Yeah, I
I
appreciate
love
that. And
that.
that's, like the journal entry that I wrote was, I think it just took the reflection for me of,
Hmm.
I think we're such busy professionals in the world and just I'm a mother and, all these roles that we play that it's just so easy to kind of forget who we are. And, I don't know if my age plays into that, but I do feel like I'm hitting this like midlife area where I'm like, am I this or that? Or do I serve the roles for my kids and my colleagues and all these things? And I think, my takeaway, my reflection from Japan was it kind of being like, you are exactly who you need to be. Now go off and do it. And that makes me emotional. Like I think I've been struggling with that the past couple years. And Japan was kind of the rattle to be like, it's okay. And I think opposite of you, Amber, is like traveling was my world for so long. And then I haven't traveled in a while. So I remember
Mhm.
Amber and I found each other in the Chicago airport. We got to travel from Chicago to Japan with each other. But I remember getting to Chicago like a breath of fresh air. Like I'm in an international airport. This feels like home to me. Like it like woke me up. And then Amber and I found each other and like ran through the corridor to hug. And it was just like the beginning of this like beautiful experience, but friendship too.
Yeah. I think, we spent, I don't know how many months we spent meeting pretty much weekly, I think
Think
3
three.
months
Yeah.
organizing this trip. And, it's one thing to be on Zoom and email and text trying to get to know each other. But man, when I saw Krista in that airport, and then when we landed, which by the way, I wouldn't have probably made it to Okinawa if she wasn't with me because our layover was pretty intense and I did not know what to do with myself. And so she got me where I needed to go. But um, we get to Okinawa and just see and hug everyone that we've been meeting with for months and planning this trip with. There was something about that moment when we all connected outside of the airport that was like, oh my gosh, we did it and we're here. And then the way that everyone just gave so much space for each other to just share who they are and what was hard and what they're looking forward to and what they're hoping for. I specifically had a moment when we were staying at this incredible coffee farm that Paige booked for us. Um, had a moment where we were all in the living room and someone asked me a question and the whole group just fell silent and just kind of let me share my story. And it was a great reminder to just have those kind of people in your life. I don't know if I've felt that heard in a long time, and you guys are kind of strangers at that point, So that was really special to me, and the way that the week all just kind of it was almost like everything that we did, the order that we did it, it was so meant to happen that way. I think if it would have been in any other order, it wouldn't have been quite as impactful. And a lot of that was just circumstance of what was available, but it all just kind of fit together and pieced together and felt so meant to be, which kind of tells my heart that we need to go on more trips.
Yeah, go on more trips or keep digging in. I think One thing I didn't appreciate until a few months later of coming back was like it really reignited my curiosity again, right? Like I'm an intrinsically insatiably curious person all the time to everything. I dive in. I love a good rabbit hole. But I think coming back from Okinawa, it was like, oh yeah, okay. Like we not only am I, is there so much to learn, right? There's so much I've never even heard about, and there are so many people living lives completely different from me that are also wise and also living a long time and doing it well and all of those things. But it's just like, gosh, I have so much to learn from them. And I almost feel this like responsibility, right? I have a responsibility. I've got a voice and I work in aging services in one way or another, right? I'm in senior living and also like, hey, I'm an aging person. Like I'm a person who's living and I'm breathing. And that means that like, not only is this really good for the people who are in their 90s right now, but what about me when I'm in my 90s? Like if I start learning now, how cool is that?
Yeah.
And I think it reignited that enthusiasm for just like,
Yeah.
I should dig in and learn about this and like do it
Mhm.
as well as I can now for other people and for me. And, um, I found myself thinking, well, geez, if I have this bias towards what I might, enter negative verb here about aging,
Mhm.
what might I think about my team or a resident living in my community or geez, if a leader in our community is not curious about these things, how will they ever reach their team who is struggling?
Yeah.
Or right, like it echoes on for so long that I felt excited about curiosity again when I got back, but I also like I can't stop reading. There's I mean, you don't have to travel 20 hours on a plane. You can pick up a good book
Yeah.
or do so many things, but it's just exciting to see that people, I mean, if a few people have joined on our call today, like people are interested
Mhm.
in joining or having that conversation or growing or bettering themselves. And I just think that's so invigorating to me right now.
Mhm. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
So,
probably all of us, but like the what brought me into the conversation of Okinawa was just under getting involved with James and his think tank
Mhm.
um, platform, or I don't know what to call that group, think tank group. Really, I wanted to meet more people. I wanted to, like I work remotely, I work from home, I just moved states, and I work in higher ed, but within long-term care, senior living. So it was like I feel very siloed in a way. So I was looking forward to Think Tank as this like I just want to grow my network of people doing cool things around the United States.
Mhm.
And then the option of Okinawa came up, and I was like, that's, just from my history of travel, I was like, okay, that's how you got me. Um, but then the community of like of you guys of those few months of planning, everyone kind of knew the two of you had met, and you had met James, Stacy had met James, and then I had met nobody. So, we were just five random people, and then Amber brought her husband and Stacy brought her daughter. Like, we're see ya in Japan. Like that's how we're doing this. But yeah, that the value of trying scary things with people you
yes.
don't always know is good. Like
Mhm.
like you don't have to go to Japan, you don't have to go to Okinawa, but like put yourself in uncomfortable situations because at the end of the day, we're all beautiful souls. Like
Mhm.
I'm sure there's some people that isn't always great, but like for the most, we're people and we're meant to
Mhm.
connect. And I think, like that's what Okinawa was kind of just this like, don't forget that. Like, and it just, like you
Mhm.
said, reinvigorated that sense of curiosity, that need for connecting with people in a world that right now we don't always feel that. I think it was really valuable for that timing.
Yeah. I think, yeah, connection and bridging that over to just even the word community. I think something that was really beautiful was, being uncomfortable, being with strangers, traveling. Um, I learned a lot even just about myself, what I handle well and what I don't, which that in itself is great to dive into. Um, But even going back to, some of the people that we met and how welcoming everyone was. And, our homestay host, Tommy, when we woke up in the morning, one of the neighbors in the village had left her some fruit at her door that is a fruit that she doesn't grow. And so they made sure to, make sure she has some. I think there are a lot of examples of just their community unit and how, and I think we talked about too, I just thought of this, but we were walking back from your homestay host, we'll say dad, because he very much acted like dad to us. He was walking us back to my homestay host's home, and he didn't want to go a specific way because there were people out other people from the village were playing a game together. And he said, "Oh, I can't walk that way because they always ask me to come play. And I say, no, I can't. But here I am with you." And so for me and my role in life enrichment, essentially guiding activities, it was so neat to see that he didn't want to be in a group setting playing a game, but he still had an outlet for community that was specific to his interests. He was teaching us, he was guiding us, he was sharing with us about his culture. And so it was interesting for me. And I think last time we talked, this came up, and it really had me reflecting in my work how much maybe we expect for our residents to do sometimes. And they want and need that connection and community, but it might not look like what everyone else is doing. And so to find personalized programming that supports them is so important, and important for us to know them on a deeper level too, not just where are you from, what did you do for a living, how many kids do you have, but what brings you joy, what makes you smile when you wake up in the morning and continues to push you. So there are a lot of examples of that. I want to circle back to you too, Krysta, because I thought of this earlier and I forgot to mention it. But um, one thing that was really fun for me to watch is the first time you went to hand out one of your postcards. She was so nervous and she kept looking at me going, "Should I do it? Like, should I give them this card?" And I'm like, "Yeah, do it." But I was like standing back. I'm like, "You go do that. I'll be over here because I don't know how to speak Japanese." And so it went from that to really growing into this beautiful, every time we parted ways from someone, it was like you left them a gift. And the depth of gratitude that they had when you would hand them that for, something so simple was, oh man, that was really neat to watch, and your confidence as you did it. Um, but I think you giving that gift, and then Paige almost had a gift of her own and learning that Okinawan phrase that um, it would make everyone feel so special and probably seen as an Okinawan, that you came from America and learned this phrase and were using it. So anyways, those were a couple more things I had to point out because they were really special.
Yeah, I thought the growth over the week, like when I se selfishly, or I didn't know much of Okinawa when we showed up. Like I didn't read much into the history. I knew it was a blue zone surface level, but once you were there, it was so, by the end, it was like, no, we're in Okinawa. It's not
Mhm.
Japan. There was
Yeah.
just this greater understanding. And I think for us, like a round of applause in that sense of like, we were really there to connect with people and to learn from them and what did they want us to take away. Um,
Mhm.
I thought that was really cool. And Paige's language, and I'm sure you'll speak on that, like to go from to say thank you and just the little things you had in Okinawan versus Japanese, that it was like a gift of reciprocity of like, I see you, you see me,
Mhm.
you just helped me order food or do this thing, and now I'm
Yeah.
thanking you in the most personal way I really can. There was a moment I really wanted, we had had cocktails at a um, a cocktail bar, and they came in the most beautiful clay cups. And so I was like, I'm going to go out, I'm going to find these cups. And I couldn't find them. But I found an artist who was making ceramic mugs, and I was picking out different ones. And I grabbed one. He said he had made it and it was Okinawan soil. And then I walked around behind him. He had some more. And I go, oh, what, like, I like that style. He goes, oh, yeah, that's from Tokyo. I go, oh, no, I don't like, I want the Okinawan one. And the same thing of like you see us, you see me as this person just through a cup, like these little moments really showed
Mhm.
that we were there to care for them and to learn from them of what they were showing us and teaching us.
I think I would have forgotten about my language piece of it briefly if you didn't say something, so I'm feeling bashful. So I usually go armed with like 10 or 20 words in a new language in a new country, and I feel very prideful about that. And I went to Okinawa with like one word, which was thank you in Japanese, and I was really proud because I was working full time and I just couldn't make it. And so we found out really quickly that if you say arigato, which is thank you in Japanese, people are like, yeah, okay, whatever. But the Okinawans are, or have been, a marginalized people in Japan, and they have their own culture and their own language. And so we really quickly learned that like Nihei de bidu is thank you in Okinawan. And if you were chatting with someone, they were quite polite. But if you said Nihei de bidu for thank you, it was like this like jumping up and down, hugging you, big smile, like, oh my gosh, how on earth did you know our language? Um, and I think I talked about this at Think Tank when we presented. Like, I thought so many times, like, gosh, if you're just willing to speak someone's language, like, look how
Mhm.
much you can see them, right? Like, when
Mhm.
I was like trying to be promoted at work and get a better job, and um, I like wanted to study my vocabulary and get these big words and sound sophisticated and make sure that I knew all the, acronyms and hyphen, whatever. And it really doesn't matter. Like what makes change last for most of the things I do at work is like sitting down with people in a t-shirt and jeans and a ball cap and like really hashing out why the thing I'm trying to implement is not working.
Mhm.
Because I'm willing to speak that person's language and not put a barrier in between us, right? And when someone's talking to me and they're trying to teach me this thing that I don't know yet, like it's so much more powerful for them to break it down in common terms than it is for them to like show off their skill set, like right? Like that's not helpful for somebody. Um, so, I mean, yeah, great reminder. Like, it's really stuck with me. Just like, geez, if you're just willing to put your ego aside and speak someone else's language for the purpose of
Mhm.
seeing each other, like, could you imagine if everybody just did that a little bit when they thought someone cut them off in the highway or when you were having a bad day, like, right? Or like someone like road raged into you at the grocery store. Like, if you just spoke their language and was just a little
Mhm.
bit more forgiving and just assumed you might be on different wavelengths of language that day, like how our entire perception of other humans might be. Uh,
Yeah.
it was an easily learned reminder because all of us were there going, oh wow, we said thank you and we know one Okinawan word now and like, oh great we are. But really it was like, gosh, these people are so gracious for that. And maybe I should be so gracious that they're extending their place to me. And it's just,
Mhm.
another form of reciprocity. But with that, I mean, I think this, we've talked about this, right? But like, so now what? Like we're home.
Mhm.
We have so much to share. There's so many good nuggets of wisdom that I think we need the industry and the people and us and right like I want to share this out, but sometimes I struggle like, well, what do we do with it all? Like it's all living in
Mhm.
our memories and our webcams and
Mhm.
how do we push that message on forward and get the word out more or to teach those lessons?
Hmm. Look at us all nod. Yep, that's
I
what we
know
need to
that's true.
know.
That's where I think that's, like not to feel stuck, but like I think I'm still taking the personal growth of figuring out what that week meant, and it's been we just 4 months ago we were in Okinawa.
Mhm.
So it's not like it's a quick thing, which is so interesting because one of my biggest problems is I'm too fast.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, where's the results? What am I doing with this? What's the turnover?
Yeah.
Um, I definitely value these conversations as a way to keep
Mhm.
pushing forward to understand, like I'm hoping one day we're chatting and it's like it all clicks for us that like
Eureka.
someone said it. There it is, Someone say it already, okay?
I think there's kind of this expectation to have this grand um, plan and moving forward. And I think something I think about, and I'm trying, because I'm like you, Krista, I'm like, let's get this show on the road, let's get things done, let's move forward. I very much function that way, like goal met, what's the next one? But I really do feel like a different person, and not to sound too dramatic, but I really do feel like a different person from the person I was before we went. And I think that's shown up quietly in different ways. And I think it's shaped how I've moved forward in different ways. And I think that being okay with that kind of being enough for now. I mean, it's inspired things within my work. It's inspired things within my life and my community and my home and my marriage and friendships. Um, and I also have ideas for projects moving forward. But I think I'm trying to just sit with being okay that like I didn't come home and I was like, aha, like this, I'm inspired and I want to inspire other people. And I think for right now, that's kind of enough. Um, I don't know. That's just been kind of stewing with me lately.
I like that. I agree. And but then there's this part of me that's like, gosh, but
Yeah.
what am I doing with it? Right? Like, what? Um, I think as I'm trying to figure it out, I find it really helpful to just like continue the conversation. Like, so this is helpful. Meeting with you guys the other day was helpful. Um, and just I think I'm still, every time we have these conversations, I use like different words to describe it. Like what did we learn and what do I want the outcome to be and how am I living life differently, right? There's a lot there and I think depending on what you're focusing on in life, it's going to show up a little differently. So like you, Amber, I think I'm taking I'm experimenting on my own self and documenting
Mhm.
heavily. Um, to help me process or understand like there is magic in it, but what is that, right? What is that? And what does that look like? And so I think at this point, like I'm committed to continuing to share that story.
Yeah.
However, I also recognize like it's an evolving story. Um,
Mhm.
and when we've had a handful of times where we've had conversations like this and someone gets inspired or excited about it. I've made a personal commitment to being like, yeah, like if you want to chat
Mhm.
more about this, like let's chat one-on-one. Let's go. Like what does that mean for your life? Or how can you add this to your personal experience? And so I think it's been really important to me to keep that of the think tank nature, things are pretty open source. And when we have this really good idea, we tend to like hold on to it because like, oh God, what could
Mhm.
it be? And so
Mhm.
I'm quite committed this time to being quite open source about it, right? Like if you want to if you're inspired by this work and you want to take it and run, like I would love to help you nugget on that in whatever way,
Yeah.
because I think it's that like one person at a time mantra.
Mhm. I actually really
Yeah,
thank you
I
for
think
saying that because, oh, sorry, Krista. I tend to be someone who really kind of mulls things over and moves forward very independently. And I think, yeah, what you just said was such a great reminder that it's so important to let people in. And every time that we have talked since our trip, it reminds me of something, but it also helps me view something in another way.
Mhm.
Um, and I think continuing to talk and have those conversations is only going to grow our perceptions of what we experienced there. And each of those things is only going to grow how we show up in the world. I'm so glad you said that, Paige.
Thanks.
yeah, I think it's the commitment, and you said that at think tank, and I think it's come up a few times, but the commitment of taking the information and to continue pushing or learning from it, like
Mhm.
whether I go abroad again or not, like that I'm willing to create community and commit to keeping it. Like I think that's we talked the other day, like it's so easy. I have my best friends all around the world, but like how often do I reach out and have meaningful conversations or
Mhm.
even um, I don't know, like I'm thinking about it right now. Like I should probably send our host parents a card of like, we
Mhm.
miss you. Like they were so impactful to me, like that experience
Mhm.
with them, or just to tell people, I don't know, to show value when you receive value. That commitment of just forging relationships and continuing them and practicing them because it's not easy. But I think the people is what for me like the takeaway was the people mattered so much in this experience and
Yeah.
to keep pushing for more people. So I
Mhm.
know we're just a couple minutes away and there's just a few of you listening to us banter on, but any questions or comments, anything before we skedaddle?
I'm just sorry I was late. I was in a meeting, so I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm late for the webinar." So anyway, I'm loving this, and I'm immediately excited about
Oh.
travel and art and things and people, and so yeah, I sit on the edge of like, no, that was just something I kind of used to do. It was a past life,
Mhm.
so this really I
Mm.
feel like it's possible and combining it even with work. And so, anyway, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you.
Suzanne, I would love to travel with you. Let's do it.
Krista, you have to know that I'm sitting here like, here we
What are
go.
we gonna do?
Like, I do. I feel that, like, that is how exciting it is for me. But I mean, and I've lived outside the United States off and on many times. So, it's good, and it's good to know that like this is part of me, and like it's in my fiber, it's in my heart, and it's
Mhm.
not just traveling, it's also with a purpose and meeting people and going, these people know something that I don't know anything about, and finding beauty and excitement in that. And it's so for me it's such a rush, and to be able to combine that with OMA and purpose and helpings. Yep, I'm pretty much there. So
Check. I love it
Yeah.
so much.
I
Yes,
mean,
Suzanne.
yeah. Anyway,
Thank you,
Thank you.
Suzanne.
Well, thank
Gosh.
you so much. This was so valuable. It felt great to
Yeah.
connect again. I felt like we were on a little podcast or something, guys. So maybe that we should do this more often.
We should do
Yeah.
this.
I'm in. Oh,
We'll
Suzanne, I
see you,
love it
Suzanne.
so
We'll see you
much.
there.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you, ladies. This has just been, it was a joy to plan with you and to travel with you and now to reminisce and figure out who we are and how we move forward. So, thank
Could not
you.
agree more.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great
Bye.
day.
Have a great day.
Bye.